দর্শক আমন্ত্রণ চ্যানেল 24 এর বিশেষ আয়োজন মুখোমুখিতে। প্রতিবার মুখোমুখিতে আমরা একজন বিশেষ অতিথি নিয়ে আমাদের প্রোগ্রামটা শুরু করি। আজকে আমাদের সাথে বিশেষ অতিথি হিসেবে আছে গ্রামীণফোনের সিইও Petter Furberg. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Congratulations, it's been 20 years in Bangladesh. So how's the journey?
I'm lucky to be here now in the time when Grameenphone is celebrating 20 years, and we've tried to look back in terms of what these pioneers did when they came together. People from Bangladesh, people from Norway, having the vision that they could create a mobile company similar to what you saw was emerging in the US and in Europe. And they had a vision which I think very few people believed in. I talked to some of the founders some weeks ago, and they told me that the first business plan for Grameenphone indicated maximum 300,000 customers. And today we are closing 300,000, and
okay.
Now we're closing in on almost 60 million customers. Yes. So it's been a journey which I think is phenomenal, and it's a credit to the people that actually believe that this would be possible, and that every individual in this world deserves to have a mobile phone, that could also enrich people's lives. But thinking back is probably not what we are focusing mainly on. 20 years is the change from being a teenager to an adult life, and our telecom industry is changing quite tremendously at the moment, which is also what we are thinking a lot about. How do we take Grameenphone forward to the next 20 years? I don't think we have the answers to what we will be in the next 20 years, but we are making a lot of bets on new areas where we need to venture into to grow Grameenphone even further.
Right. So if we look back 20 years back, there was only few people who used Grameenphone. Now it's more than you have imagined. Any of you have imagined 20 years back. But as you see, the mobile phone is not, it's a part of regular life. Like we get our mails, we do our work. So keeping that thing in mind, do you think Grameenphone still, or do you have the ability to provide all the facilities to all the people? Because still people are complaining they don't get called regularly, calls are cutting when you're talking to somebody, and the call drop is there, so stuff is like that. Are you satisfied in 20 years giving service by the demand of the people?
Yeah, I think Bangladesh as a country has actually developed a lot on the basis of what the telecom operators have done. And that's not just Grameenphone. The fact that we have a very tough competition in the market with 3 big operators and 2 smaller ones is what's given Bangladesh low prices on both data and voice. And it's driven, I think now around 130 million SIM cards in the market in a country with 160 million people. Still, we believe that because people have multiple SIM cards, so most customers have 1 or 2 SIM cards from different operators, there's still growth. Our estimate is that 55% to 60% of the people have SIM cards unconnected, but we still believe that we can grow it further. And that's why there will be more growth. Are we delivering good enough always? Not. But that's what we are sort of working hard on every day. We're covering close to 100% of the country with 2G. With 3G, we are around 90%. But indoor is still a challenge when it comes to 3G quality. And that's also something we're working with the government to give us the ability to use our spectrum of frequencies where we're sending the signals in such a way that we can provide the same quality of 3G that we have on 2G.
Right. But what about the call drops and other complaints?
Yeah. First of all, the call drops are very low in international standards in Bangladesh. And Grameenphone is clearly one of the best operators if you compare us to also international benchmarks. But we acknowledge that particularly when people shifted from 2G to 3G, there is an increase in terms of people's perceived quality. And that comes back to my point about indoor quality is difficult with the frequencies that we have been allowed to use for 3G. We are in discussions with the government about technology neutrality. If we get that, we will be able to use the same frequencies that we have for 2G also on 3G. And that will enhance the reach of our signal, and it will reduce significantly the quality issues that some people feel on 3G today.
Okay, then you're trying to say that things will be, that you will have no complaints someday. I believe you. But as we have heard that Grameenphone is taking care of all the customers by their call center, but recently probably you have introduced some other people who are not directly employee of the Grameenphone who are trying to provide proper customer service, but there is a lot of complaint. Are you aware of that fact, and are you working on that issue as well?
First of all, call center is an important part of the service that we provide to people, and we take almost 100,000 calls on a daily basis through the call centers. Complaints when it comes to network or products is a very, very small part of it. And last year, because of really focused work of the people in Grameenphone, we reduced our number of complaints to call center with 75%. The second part of your question is really how do we run call centers? And there is a general trend across the globe in terms of call centers being a service that you're buying. So outsourcing call centers is something most companies do across the globe. This is also a huge opportunity for Bangladesh to actually run call centers, not only for companies in Bangladesh, but also international companies. And as such, I think we are stimulating outsourcing. Today we have some of our call center agents being outsourced, buying from partners in Bangladesh, companies in Bangladesh, and some of the call center being run by our own employees. And I think that combination is good, but over time, most companies will probably also in Bangladesh buy call center services from outsourced companies.
But I had talked with some people, they are not happy with customer service provider who are not directly part of Grameenphone.
I think we have very, very tight quality standards on our partners too. So when you do this shift from in-house to outsource, a lot of the work is really about ensuring that they're well trained and that we have sort of performance indicators on how they're running the calls. We are monitoring the calls. We are following up with the training if there are agents that are not performing well. So I'm actually very happy with the call center quality we have in Grameenphone. And
that's your own call center, right?
No.
Not the third party?
The service that is provided to Grameenphone customers by our own staff and by the outsourced staff. The quality is good.
Okay. I agree on that fact that you are trying to say both are good. But don't you think the number of people who are working for this particular sector, because you have a huge customer, the number of customers is more than anybody in the country, like any other telecom operator, but the number of customer provider is less than the customers because they have to handle a lot of customers and they get panicked and different opinions, different complaints, different solutions, right? So are you working on this issue?
Yeah. And one of the most important measures we have in terms of customer satisfaction in Grameenphone is something we call Net Promoter Score. How likely is it that you will promote Grameenphone to some of your friends or family? Because it's only if you're very comfortable with yourself that you will actually recommend someone. And what we see is that this is increasing every year. And last year we had a significant increase in the people's likelihood to promote Grameenphone. And I believe there are many factors. One is we did upgrade the network. Mm-hmm. So we went from a more or less 2G network to a nationwide 3G network last year. So now most of our base stations have both 2G and 3G. That was a huge upgrade of quality. Secondly, we did a lot of simplification of our products because in the past people found Grameenphone to be a little bit tricky and complex. Mm-hmm. So we simplified our products to again avoid that people complained and had to call center to understand. And then we also upgraded the call center service. So all of these factors contributed to an increase in people actually recommending Grameenphone to friends and families, which we also saw in terms of growth of customers and growth of revenue. So I think we are in a very good state today when it comes to the service in general and in terms of how we serve the customers.
Okay, the discussion will be going on. It's time for our first break. দর্শক আমরা আলোচনা করছিলাম গ্রামীণফোন এবং তার কাস্টমারদের কিভাবে কি ধরনের সার্ভিস দিয়ে থাকে, সেই সার্ভিস আসলে কতটা কাস্টমারদের খুশি করতে পারে, এবং আমরা জানছিলাম পিটারের অভিজ্ঞতা, তারা আসলে কাস্টমারদের সার্ভিস দিয়ে কতটা খুশি হতে পেরেছে। আলোচনার এরপর যেটা বিরতি নিচ্ছি, ফিরছি একটু পরে, সাথে থাকুন। আমন্ত্রণ আরো একবার মুখোমুখিতে কথা বলছিলাম গ্রামীণফোনের সিইও পেটার ফারবার্গের সাথে। ওয়েলকাম টু দ্য শো ওয়ান্স अगेन। So we've been talking about the customer relations between Grameenphone and the customers. I heard that Grameenphone is about to close the customer service section that Grameenphone owns. Is that true?
Over time, yes, we will go for an outsourced call center, but still
fully outsourced.
Yeah, that's the ambition. But we're doing this gradually, and we're doing it in such a way that those people that are currently working with a call center gets opportunities for other types of jobs within Grameenphone. That's the same we did last year, where we also shifted a lot of people out to work in the regions. And it's a good thing with a big company that there are actually, if people are willing to change, they can change and look for new opportunities within Grameenphone.
But if I'm not wrong, within your customer service providing system you have, you earn directly revenue. Now third party will earn revenue for you and give it to you, right? If I'm not wrong.
Nope.
Because when I'm calling to one-to-one,
yeah,
because you are getting some money for that, right?
Well, there is a charge for the call, but
right.
Generally call center is a loss-making business. It costs you more to provide that service than what the customers are paying. So it's the main reason why we are charging a little bit for it is that it shouldn't be something that people misuse. So it is not to make money. It is to just avoid that people are calling call center for unnecessary things. And that's also why we are over time implementing a lot of self-service. And in a digital world, what people want is
like my GP application.
Yeah, people want to serve themselves. You don't want to call the call center. If you have to call the call center, it is because you have a problem that you cannot fix yourself. So our ambition is over time to actually see that we don't need a call center because our products are very simple. There is no problem with the quality, and people can easily change their packages or their price plans by using an app or by using USSD menus. So the vision is really self-service all the way. And you also see that we are changing from having a voice-based call center to serve our customers through Facebook, to serve our customers through chat. And this is the trend that you see globally. And I think we need to, I'm a big optimist on Bangladesh. I think we have a very digital savvy population growing up. They are going directly to the mobile. They will use smartphones. And as such, you won't need a traditional call center for the young generations in 5 to 10 years. They will want to be served differently.
And how you will accommodate all these people to your next, to this place? I mean, those people who are working for customer service. How you will accommodate?
Well, what we have seen over time, because this is not something that has happened and is happening in 1 year. There has been a transition where we have gone from having in-house to an outsourced. And over time, we have given people new opportunities, and some people have left Grameenphone, but all on a voluntary basis.
And people who are left voluntarily?
They're doing that voluntary.
Okay. And for this particular issue, voluntary VRS, if I'm not wrong, the term is VRS you people use. So you're offering something exclusive?
We're offering very good VRS packages. So people that leave GP are very well compensated.
So you are very smartly encouraging people to leave GP, if I'm not wrong.
No, I think we are saying that people, if they don't have opportunities and they don't want to change, because in a company like this, when the industry is changing, we all have to assume that our jobs will change over time. And you need to adapt. If you're willing to adapt, willing to take new jobs, maybe also go to a new location, then GP is a great place. But if you can't, for many different reasons, or you see opportunities outside GP that are better, then VRS is a good opportunity.
Yes, let's see. And let's talk about 4G. Are you hopeful about 4G? Because the radio wave auction is still it's in a confusing level. And it's not, I believe it's neutral technology is also very important for 4G, if I'm not wrong. What's your observation?
I think we all expect 4G auctions or spectrum for new spectrum, which is what the permission we have to send our signals in a certain range, will happen this year. It's still unclear to me what is the timeline of the government. So we are supportive, and we are waiting for it. We are preparing so that we know that we can participate in an auction. And we are preparing technically so that if we get more spectrum and we get the 4G license, we will quickly be able to turn on 4G and serve the customers with 4G. Technology neutrality, which is the kind of second part here, is not only important for 4G, it's actually more important for 3G today. And the reason is, as I explained earlier, that we are allowed to use 2G on spectrum which is reaching quite far and which is penetrating through walls, while the 3G spectrum that we have has a very limited reach. And because of that, it is mainly giving us good coverage in the cities, but even in the cities, it's not coming through the walls as well as the 2G signal. And this is why we are strongly arguing to the government that if you want to lift the quality of 3G today, just allow the operators to freely use this spectrum. And that's what we call technology neutrality. Bangladesh is actually the last country in the world where technology neutrality is not implemented. And it is necessary to have the flexibility to decide that in the cities where you have many 3G phones, you want to use more of your spectrum for 3G. In the rural areas where you have more 2G, there you might use more of your spectrum for 2G and less for 3G.
Right. Did you mention your concerns to the government?
Yes, and I have a very good dialogue with the telecom minister, Ms. Tarana. She's fully behind this. So it's about the timeline for when they're implementing it.
Right. And how hopeful you are?
I'm hopeful. I'm an optimist. I believe it's going to happen, and I believe the technology neutrality and more spectrum for 4G will come this year.
And do you think the 3G service you provide to the people, to the customers, but 4G service will require more speed? You have that ability to provide that kind of speed and technology and support and the desire to cover up?
Yeah, I think today with our 3G spectrum, which is fairly limited, we can provide a speed in theory around up to 40-45 megabit per second, but that's in theory. With 4G, if we get decent amount of spectrum, or we can buy that from the government, theoretically you can get speeds up to 150 megabyte per second, etc. So the main difference on 4G versus 3G is also what you call latency. And the speed of the response, which is important for gamers. Gamers will be very, very happy with 4G. But for normal use, I think our 3G network today on video, etc., is generally good enough. But 4G is the next. We can produce more data. We can give generally higher speed, and that's why we would like to go for 4G.
And don't you think that you need more customer service provider of 4G? Because when you are jumping from 3G to 4G, people will definitely not using your MyGP application. Also, they need to have some solutions from the customer service providers.
I think if you talk about services that we will provide, GP has already launched a music app with GP Music. We have Bioscope, which is for video and live streaming. That's going to be much better with 4G. But in general, I would say that the 4G is not that different from 3G when it comes to the overall speed. Okay. It is a lot about the
I mean, not the speed, it's service.
Yeah, but I think in general, the service that you can find today on 3G will not be very different on 4G. The main benefit for 4G is actually for gamers or services that requires quick response.
So the young people, basically.
Yeah. So gamers will be very happy with 4G. But of course, in general, you will have a faster speed. So if you like downloading movies, for instance, with 3G, it might take you quite a few or many minutes. But with 4G, it's going to be done in 2-3 minutes, sort of a whole movie download. So yes, there are benefits with it. But for most of live streaming, for instance, 3G today is quite okay.
I'm hopeful too. On that discussion, I have to take the last break. দর্শক আলোচনা করছিলাম 3G এবং 4G এর মাঝখানে পার্থক্য এবং 4G আসলে কি হবে না হবে, কারা বেশি বেনিফিটেড হবে, কারা বেশি খুশি হবে। উনি বলছিলেন যে যারা গেম খেলে অনলাইনে তারা হয়তো সবচেয়ে বেশি খুশি হতে পারে। আলোচনার পর্যায়ে একটা বিরতি নিচ্ছি, সাথে থাকুন, ফিরছি একটু পরে। আমন্ত্রণ আরো একবার মুখোমুখিতে কথা বলছিলাম গ্রামীণফোনের সিইও পেটারের সাথে। Welcome to the show once again and for the last time, I believe. So, these 4G requires a high speed, and if you look at your infrastructure, Do you think you can provide uninterrupted service?
Yes. Most of the telecom equipment that we and our competitors have installed is already prepared for 4G. We need to buy more equipment from the vendors that we are using, and that's a huge investment that the mobile operators will have to take to upgrade. From the government, we need spectrum, and that's what we expect to get through an auction where we will pay the government for being allowed to use the spectrum. But what I also think that the government probably needs to do to see that more people can use 4G is one, that we need more fibering. With 3G, we can use microwave dishes to send the signals. With 4G, all the towers will have to be connected with fiber. That's a big task for Bangladesh, and to stimulate fibering of Bangladesh is important for that reason. I also think that the government should stimulate more handsets. Today, roughly 25% of our customers have a 3G device, but only 4-5% have a 4G device. So even if we launch 4G, not a lot of people in Bangladesh will be able to use it immediately. And the sad thing is in Bangladesh that around 1/3 of the cost of a smartphone is actually tax. So the government could help this by lowering the taxes on smartphones, which would clearly drive an uptake of 4G and 3G devices, which would drive then more digitalization of Bangladesh. So I think it's a joint project where we will pay for spectrum, we will pay for investments, but the government should drive more fibering and lower handset prices.
Right. And if I'm not wrong, BTRC is introducing mobile number portability, MNP services. And how much relevant is MNP for Bangladesh? What's your take?
I think it's good to have, because again it stimulates more competition. People can freely move between the operators, but I don't think it will be a big thing. In most countries in the world, you have seen MNP being a hype, but not really something a lot of people are using.
Right. And overall, you tell me how much the regulatory is environment friendly?
For telecom, regulators are extremely important in all countries because we are utilizing government or countries' resources, which is the spectrum, and it's important that they ensure competition. I think in general, the regulator in Bangladesh is working towards a future of Bangladesh, which is very good. We strongly support the vision of digital Bangladesh. We are dependent on them moving fast on releasing more spectrum. We are dependent on them not seeing telecom as a sort of golden goose that you're going to slaughter for just tax revenues, because the more we grow, the more the whole country will grow. GDP grows, tax revenues grows. So I think that's sometimes a little bit the feeling we have, that they need to give things to get the whole economy to grow, not give just to take more money from the telecom sector. But in general, I would say I'm positive. We have a good relationship with the telecom ministry, the ICT ministry, and also with the telecom regulator, BTRC.
And last question. After 20 years, where do you want to see yourself? Where do you want to see Grameenphone?
I think 20 years from now, Grameenphone will be a very different company than we are today. We will still give people internet access, but it will be data and not voice. You will see that 100% of our customers are connected purely through data. You will see that we are still distributing things, but it will be digitally, and we will be a partner of a lot of businesses. It's not going to be a Grameenphone that is doing everything itself. It will be a company that, for most of the things that we are doing, will do that in partnership with Bangladeshi companies or international companies.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us.
Thank you so much.
It was really a pleasure, and we learned a lot from you. দর্শক, আমরা কথা বলছিলাম গ্রামীণফোনের সিইওর সাথে। 20 বছর পরে গ্রামীণফোন হয়তোবা বাংলাদেশকে আরো ভালো মোবাইল সার্ভিস দিতে পারবে, সে আশা করি এখানে আজকে শেষ করছি। দেখা হবে আগামী কোনো পর্বে।